All right, well, I'll turn it over to Bryce at this time for the program portion.
Just another quick introduction. We have our own court carrier here today, talking to us about Forest Grove's new tourism, branding, and new program that we have.
Thanks so much, Bryce, and thank you, everybody. I must confess that in light of all the things that have been going on, it's hard to compete with the many magnitude of issues that we've all haven't been necessary to deal with. And so today I thought I'd start off briefly and let you know how bad things were long ago and make it seem like things are better now. So I'm going to go back to the 10 deadly plagues of Egypt and let you know that things were bad, and we can kind of liken it a little bit to some of the things we're going through now. The first plague was the plague of blood, where the Nile River turned into blood and fouled the water and all the fish died. And I kind of liken that to the fact that we have our own issues with environmental pollution, and we've had to deal with that. Second plague was the plague of boils. And the Pharaoh and the servants and the Egyptians and the animals developed boils all over their body. Well, we have our own issues now, and COVID-19 has been one of the worst that we have ever seen. There was 3 plagues and at once, and that was the plague of hail, fire, and thunder. And if you've been watching the news lately, we've been having hurricanes, we've had snowstorms in September, we just had a major windstorm event, and of course, now we're facing all the fire conflagrations. The 6th plague was the plague of locusts. Now, my daughter would say that this is mosquitoes from her most recent camping trip, but I would liken it more to the murder hornets, beginning to travel down to visit us from Vancouver, BC, without the proper documentation. The 7th plague was the plague of darkness. And if you looked out at the sky today, our fire smoke sky, we cannot see hardly anything there during the daytime. And maybe it's time for daylight savings time a little bit early. The 8th plague was the death of the firstborn sons and Passover. And that's where the Israelis, smeared sheep's blood on their doors to prevent the people from coming in and killing their own sons. The escape from Egypt was the 9th plague, and that is where they had forced migrations from Egypt, and all the Israelis had to leave. Well, we have our own forced migrations here around the world, and many different countries have had to deal with that. And the last of the plagues was the parting of the Red Sea, and the waters then returning to bury the Egyptian army. Well, we now have the worries of tsunamis and all of these massive storms that have been taking place all over the world. So I'd like to just share real briefly that we ought to take time to pray for those who've been afflicted with anything, and help and assist and comfort and care for those who can't. It's really important to focus on those kinds of things and what can we do about it. I don't mean to make light of things, but I do want to share that there's always a bright light where we can try and overcome the dark lights. So today I want to share my screen here, and I'm going to go in and share. Am I all set to share screen there, Bryce? Okay.
Should be, yes.
Most disabled participants.
I have updated it. Try it again.
There we go. Okay. We are updated. So I've got just a little outline here about talking about what we are doing, and my topic is to share with you about our branding and what we're doing with tourism right now. But I'd like to just briefly say that tourism is not a new thing. Tourism is ancient, and it occurred wherever transportation pathways were formed, whether it be game trails or shelter or military roads or horseback paths. Every time you change the method of transportation, going into carriages or wagon routes, steam rail and their stops, automobile roads and interstates like the Columbia Gorge Scenic Highway and then I-84. But people traveled to escape famine, wars, pestilence, and persecution. We are in a different era now, and it is something that we have to adapt to and change to make sure that we are reflecting today's realities. And Forest Grove has many, many ties to tourism, and you have a wealth of abundant resources here that in some cases that haven't been talked about. And that's one of the purposes that our tourism RFP project was brought in to begin to work on that. And I'm going to show you an example of that. I'm going to get out of this share. I'm going to go back to the screen share again and share an example of our tourism assets and resources. We have done an inventory of the various different things that we have at our beck and call, and we actually have 6 key niches or market niches. So in the area of wine and food and agritourism and beverages, we have a lot of things. For example, we've got this list of restaurants here, and there are about 40 of the restaurants that we have available just within the Forest Grove area itself. That's not to speak of Banks and North Plains and Cornelius and and all these other places that are in the nearby area. But those are just the restaurants. Then we've got food carts, for people to be able to enjoy. On wineries, we have a plethora of wineries within the immediate area, 24 of them in very short shouting distance. But visitors don't observe city lines. They go beyond that, and they like to travel, and they like to see different things and do different things. And within a 1-hour drive, if they were to stay here and enjoy a vacation for 2 or 3 days, they can drive and see 200 different wineries within 1 hour. So we've got a lot of them to visit. Our beverages in the local area are really beautiful. I had the opportunity to buy some of our Bull Run cider and take it out to a farmers meeting on Friday last week. And we had an evening gathering to talk about an effort to put together a heritage type Tuolumne Plains outpost. And the Bull Run cider was open, so I grabbed some fresh cider, hard cider, and I took it to the meeting, and it was fabulous. So we've got a lot of great companies that are brewing beverages, making beverages. Some of them are literally world renowned, and Sake One is a great example of that, having become one of the premier makers of sake in the United States, and now is importing almost 95% of their business from imported Japanese sake, in addition to a very vibrant local sake production. You've got culinary and educational entities like Good Eddie's Kitchen and others that can offer you opportunities like this new effort to have restaurants produce kitchen baskets where you can buy their basket and be shown how to cook their food. And in the agritourism area, we've got a list of all of these farms and places where you can go and enjoy and visit and see what kind of products they've got. So that's just one of our areas of tourism, one of the 6 major niches. And we've inventoried all of the others too, and those are the plethora of things that we've got available for us. So let's talk specifically about some of the things that we've got coming up here in terms of our efforts. So I'm going to go back here to the agenda and share that again. So we have these wonderful assets, and we want to give credit for past efforts that tourism has gone through here in Forest Grove. It's not that we were devoid of tourism and that people didn't come and visit and have a great opportunity to see the wonderful place that Forest Grove really is. The tourism efforts that had gone on, and particularly with the wonderful tourism branding effort in 2007, they did a great study. Bill Baker and the local committee here in Forest Grove put together a fabulous piece of work, and it laid excellent groundwork for what our efforts are now. But you need to update that brand regularly. That was 10 years ago. Now we're, putting together this new brand, and it's going to be hopefully good for the same kind of period of time. And we'll probably change again as we grow and mature as a community. So the efforts that they put forward, we're relying on that good effort to begin to develop some of our own now. And that began with the passage of the 2.5% transient lodging tax that was begun in January of 2018. They decided at that point to put out a tourism RFP contract, and they conducted interviews in the fall of 2018. During that late fall and early winter, I was interviewed, and they ended up deciding to hire me as a consultant to help develop these tourism efforts and new tourism products. So I'm going to show you a little example of that. I'm going to stop sharing here again and go back in and show you an example of what we've begun to do here. And here's our tourism brand, and I want to give you a little bit better view of that. So I'm going to turn it into a screen share there. So what you're seeing in front of you now is the logo and the tagline that has been developed. We went through more than 25 or 30 renditions or examples of taglines and discussed them all. And then we went through about 10 or 12 renditions of logos and ended up with a very great product. It was a unanimous choice on the part of our Tourism Advisory Committee. Our branding creative team approved of it wholeheartedly after the Tourism Committee approved it. And then we shared it with the city, and the city councilors approved of the efforts that we had put forward, and they ended up allowing it to move ahead with the trademarking. So we have this brand new logo and tagline as a part of it. It's a part of our overall tourism plan. And so I wanted to just touch on that briefly, and I'm going to run through this real quick just to share with you. It's not just a logo or a tagline that we've been doing. We ended up doing a full branding plan, and I'm going to share that with you in just a second. But we also did a strategic plan, and that has been drafted and is complete. We're in the midst of the drafting mode for a marketing plan. That's being worked on, and it'll be worked on over the next 3 months. We have a mission and vision statement that has been completed. Our Tourism Advisory Committee has been working for the course of a full year now, and they've been doing great work. I can't give them enough credit. It wouldn't have happened without them. I treat them as my board of directors. They're the ones that are helping to pull this together as professionals from around the community. And we have a great bunch of people serving on it. So here's our branding process team that just finished putting together the initial efforts that we then submitted to the Tourism Advisory Committee. Carolyn McCormick from Washington County Visitors, Lois Hornberger from the former Chamber and Pacific University, Kristen Ling from Framers Touch Gallery, myself, Steve Volstek of Sake One, Carl Switzer, who's probably really busy right now at Washington County Parks and Hag Lake, and Jeff King. These are the members of all of our tourism committee. I've shared that kind of stuff before with folks, but we have some marvelous folks, including a number of Rotarians that are involved. Just today, Rob Foster submitted a bunch of bicycling photos for our new photo content library that are phenomenal. So we're working hard on a lot of different efforts to try and bring this all together. Our area of tourism here, as I mentioned, has 6 key market niches, and those market niches are listed here. Wine, food, and culinary, of course, is one of our more popular ones. Outdoor recreation and adventure tourism, arts, history, culture, and heritage tourism, meetings, conferences, and retreats when they open back up again for more than 25 people. And then our local events and festivals, which again are in transit. We're trying to wait till we can get these put together, and some of them are being done virtually or in a different manner, much like the Corn Roast and Chalk Art Festival or the Great Grains Festival coming up this month. And lastly, but not least at all, is Pacific University, which has done an incredible job in bringing people to Forest Grove the students, their parents, alumni, sports meetings, events, culture. They're a huge magnet for visitation here in Forest Grove. So I'm going to come back to this later on because that's where we kind of go after I've shared the branding with you. I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to be bringing up our branding guide here. And this is the key document. It's literally 30 pages worth of different things that have been created and worked on by our committee and the branding company. So here's again our tagline and the brand guidelines of how we will use this branding. So the first page was just an introduction and telling you we want it to be incredible, listening and brainstorming and teamwork and decision-making discussion between our tourism area and all of the community. And so we're welcoming any involvement and suggestions of how we can implement this brand with anyone's suggestions and help. And so if you have any ideas that we're not going to cover in here, I want to make sure that you know that we're opening our ears and our hearts to listen to those and be able to see if we can't take advantage of that. The branding language is where we're talking about how we're positioning ourselves as a tourism entity. And it's talking about the difference between vacationing and traveling. And we are looking at it more as traveling, and it's about seeing and trying new things and things that are natural and authentic and being who we really are. And so when you think about that, the logo and the tagline fit so well in terms of that language, in that we want people to come and branch out in Forest Grove, to try new things, to explore new activities, to enjoy things they may have never tried before, like a chalk art festival, or maybe going out and taking a glider flight out of the local glider port, out on Highway 26. Or maybe you didn't know you could go fly a radio-controlled model airplane. We have an airport for that just in the Banks area right nearby here. So there's a lot of things that we are going to be focusing on, and we want to make sure that people know that we want everyone and anyone to be able to come and enjoy Forest Grove. We want to be able to share it with them and share the rich and diverse culture and opportunities we've got here, and showcase those different things that make us such a special place. Our audience is going to be very diverse also. And when you look at our target audience, on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a lot of different key areas that we know we have some real strengths in. So there's bicycling and wine lovers and culinary travelers and family fun seekers and history and culture, small town and history of the kind of the walkable downtown and historic districts that we've got. Hikers, nature lovers, bird watchers, scenic byway people that are driving or wandering or riding. Agritourism, which has become a really big industry in many places. Fishing, boating, water sports. Hag Lake has got over 1 million visitors a year coming out to visit. Not all of them are staying overnight, but we want to encourage as many people as possible to come in and take advantage of those spaces. People coming to events, Pacific University, local business visitors. And this is an area where we have not explored at all. And we're going to try and develop more of a small meeting and conference market to invite people to come and hold their meetings out here and enjoy a getaway from their business, a retreat, to be able to really, open up their eyes. And of course, our lodging entities, McMenamin's Grand Lodge is one of the key ones with the largest number of rooms and very unique offerings. But the Best Western, Forest Grove Inn, America's Best Value Inn and Suites, Budget Inn, they're all important to being able to house people coming to our area. We also have extremely good transportation connections, and that's one of our advantages. When you look at Forest Grove, we're really the first town in Washington County, and that's a fact. It was the first incorporated town. And we really think that it is now still the last, town because most of them have been absorbed by the suburbs. So when you look at, the tourism opportunities for other places like Tualatin or Sherwood or Beaverton or Hillsborough, they're not known as much for tourism as for being major suburbs and entities with lots of commerce and businesses and industry. And Forest Grove is a standalone destination type community, which has so many incredible opportunities to explore and come and enjoy. So we're going to take advantage of our transportation connections and that feeling of being a place you can go within close proximity to all of these other magnificent tourism and visitation attractions. So we want them to come and be based here. This is going to be their base camp. They can still go out to the coast for a day. They can go to the Multnomah Falls and the Columbia Gorge or Mount Hood. They can go to downtown Portland and shop and visit the big city. But when you look at it, we're only 25 minutes away from all that, and yet we're a distance, a far cry from being that type of location. So we're going to have a lot of fun things that we're going to be able to offer, and we're going to speak to them in a really friendly and inspiring way, down-to-earth way, to make sure that they know that we are trying to be who we really are and not put on airs and not try to present ourselves as something that we really are not. So we want to inspire our audience to come here and be able to enjoy the community, because it's so much more than really meets the eye. We have all sorts of new, copy and narrative that we've developed in terms of sample headlines that can be used. We have, opportunities to be able to reach out to folks with longer size versions of advertisements and things that can be used. And these are available for anyone to be able to take advantage of and use out of our branding guidelines here. So let's look at the logo itself and show you how we developed that. It can be used in multiple different ways. This logo can be rimmed, with an outline around the outside, and you'll notice that it's a very stylistic oak tree, which is, a rendition of, the grove, the kinds of things that we've got available a long time ago here in our area. It has leaves, it has acorns. We indicate the city was, incorporated in 1872, and yet we actually had people living here and, and having a town as of, about 20 years or 30 years earlier than that. We can use the logo without the outline, depending on where it's going to be. It could be used on a t-shirt and have that be something that could be put onto a t-shirt. We have 6 different color palette logos that we have available to us, and we chose a color palette that's called a heritage palette that's kind of a little bit softer, but it can showcase it in many different ways. So when you talk about having something that looks great on a dark background, or having something which is this light bluish kind of a color, they call this a pond color, but I actually think of it more as a blueberry color. To me, it's just a beautiful, standout kind of a logo. We have the Harvest Gold, which is an indicative of our connection with agritourism. We've got kind of a rosé color for, a wine or beverage kind of approach, tan color, and then of course the forest green. And these, I think, are all looking at being natural and being something that really is truly authentic. So those are all the different things that we have in terms of our color palette. Those colors can be used and be able to be shared with other people along with our logos. If we use it as a one color logo, here's some logos that are used with just one color alone. So it's something that can be very flexible in terms of its appearance and how it's going to be presented. Our secondary logo we have developed also is a kind of a half window kind of an approach. And this could be something that could be used as a baseball cap highlight, or it could be used as something, again, that's being put on the arm of a t-shirt, or if it can be used in something that's going to be the top of a column of an article or something like that, so that they could write beneath it and have things that they could showcase with the logo beginning to speak to it at the very top and then having copy underneath it. but there are other ways that we'll use it too. So we're going to be producing a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and you'll see on the left there's a Facebook diagram here with the logo embedded within, the Facebook, actual content there, and that can have any kind of a picture. So, we can rotate things in and out with different photos and have that be showcasing a lot of things that are here in our great city. And in the Instagram area, when you're on a mobile platform, you'll end up seeing that there's not enough room on a mobile phone to be able to showcase the logo and have it really stand out. So we're using the oak leaf kind of approach or tree approach to be able to just be a bulleted point and showcase at the top of the posting for a posting on Facebook or Instagram. Here's some of the guidelines that we're just talking about. I won't go into the details about how it needs to be used, but we want to make sure that we don't change it or warp it or shadow it. This is meant to be a standalone piece and shown in continuity, with what we would like it to be presented as. So, we don't want it to be varied. We want it to be something that's used the way it is actually developed, and it gives some guidelines in terms of space and in terms of distance outside of the logo so that it doesn't get impacted by other uses. And they talk about, here's some of the things we don't want to have done. We don't want, type to be surrounding it and make it, disappear or lose its impact. We don't want it to be different colors that we haven't authorized. The morphing of the shape of it or putting shadow designs or things behind it, or to incorporate other logos too closely to our own logo. But we do want you to use it with your logo, and we want you, if you're a business, to be able to showcase your business first, and if you can, weave in our logo as part of your presentation to present the greater Forest Grove area, then we would like to have you do that. And I got to give credit to the Chamber. They've already done a great job of being able to put that into newsletters and things like that and showcase, what a wonderful place Forest Grove is, in addition to all the great activities and things that they're working on. So those are things that we want to try and share with people and let them know about it. We want you to use it the way it's been designed. And in addition, if you have the opportunity to use some different fonts, we will be using 3 different fonts that were chosen to go along with this. The Filson Pro font, the primary font is Adobe Garamond Pro, and the secondary font is in the larger type in the logo, and it's called a DIN Pro. We just like it to be consistent and make it look similar. We're not asking you to change all of your copy and all of the things that you've designed for your businesses, but if you have a way of adapting it, and using it, we welcome your doing that and being able to take advantage of that. So as a guideline in terms of the colors, it gives you all of the different percentages of colors that go into each of these different colors. So we have the black, the forest, the leaf, the bloom, the tan, the pond, and the yellow, and they're all designated here. And you can use those guidelines to use the colors in your own presentations. And you don't have to use other things, but we encourage you to weave in whatever you can in terms of our branding and the things that we've got available. Here are some of those secondary elements that we talked about that came off of the logo, the oak leaf, acorns, directional things, and the tree, these are the things that could be incorporated as bulleted points, but we don't want those to be overused and abused. So, using them sparingly is a good idea, but using them constantly is probably not. The biggest challenge that we have had is by, looking around for photograph and content to be able to use, we've discovered there's not much available here in Forest Grove. The city itself does not have a lot of photo content in their library, and neither did the Chamber with their things that they had available to them. But it makes sense in that they did not have the funding and the ability to put that together. Well, we don't have the funding to be able to do that either, but now I'm begging, borrowing, and stealing the right to use photos from everybody we can and we're getting a great response from folks. I've got to give people like the Concours d'Elegance credit. I contacted them, and we have had submissions from some of the people that have been to former Concours, and 300 photographs are now available just of Concours d'Elegance. The wineries are submitting that type of stuff. The bicycling folks, as I mentioned, Rob Foster has been giving us some photos today, and there are a lot of diverse photos that he's provided this morning. But we've got great winery content and festivals and events and downtown views. So that is being built on as we speak. I've got a volunteer that I was able to recruit and come in, and she is making phone calls and sending out emails and following up to try and get people's permission to come in. So that gives you an idea of the type of things from a photography standpoint. Then we put that photography to use, and we start looking at how can we advertise that. Well, we don't have a lot of money left for print advertising. Without transient lodging taxes being collected at the hotels, we lost about 50% of our budget for this current fiscal year in terms of marketing, in terms of advertising. And so we're trying to spread it as far as we can. We're going to rely largely on our website and 2 social media channels. And so you'll see a few ads out there, but most of what you'll see is going to be digital and digital advertising that can be located online. And here's an example of how they can employ that in terms of an e-newsletter, part of our website, where we gather people together and have them opt into our newsletter and put that on a quarterly basis to start with, and have some great stories about local community and things that are going on over the next 3-month period. So we'll feature some great articles about what's happening during the upcoming months. Here's an example of the website, and this is just a blank right now in terms of what you see. I just received the initial website draft from our website contractor, and it is looking fabulous. And so we're going to have a beautiful website with a lot more content. I haven't had a chance to go through and review it with them until this afternoon, but when I do, I'll be sharing that with our Tourism Advisory Committee, and it's going to be a showcase. It's going to stand out. We're going to be able to give people a great image of Forest Grove. This is kind of the layout that you'll see in terms of the banner and the logo, and then pictures that we can rotate in and out. And then we'll have the Instagram page that people can click on, and they'll be able to see different activities and items that they'll be able to enjoy. And we're going to have people submitting their own content under Instagram. So if we end up getting some great photographs, we are going to be requesting that they allow us to be able to use them if we're going to be publishing them. And so we'll gain some more photographs down the road by having other people submit wonderful shots that they've got. And here's again an example of of how that might look when you lay it out. So that is the complete view of our branding guidelines. And I'm going to stop this share and go back to the share that we had in terms of our PowerPoint. And this screen is the one that I wanted to focus on in terms of what are some of the things that we can do to be able to share this, and you can do your part. There's no cost for you to use our materials. It's yours. We are here to do things and help you be able to make your business and make your entity even more popular and more lively. So use the logo. If you can use it on your website as a secondary brand, mount it on your website, and doesn't have to be large and primary. It can be secondary and a secondary highlight at the bottom of your page. You can use our new tagline in your communications, your email, your social media, and newsletters. We encourage you to do that. We want people to branch out in Forest Grove and use the complete products that we've got available. You can select a color, and use our tourism color palette to highlight any of the flyers you might do use it on letterhead, use it in mailers. We do have the new link for our website. It is not live yet, but it is being advertised in one publication already in the Travel Oregon guidebook. And so if people click on that link right now, it's going to go over to saberforestgrove.org at the city. But that will be decommissioned as soon as we have the ability to go live with our website. And so when it's done, we'll have a large number of hashtags and search engine optimization that's being developed. People are going to be able to get to us, and they're going to see a lot more of us as a result of that. Special events can use this as a logo and and colors and put it on their website and link any flyers or emails or advertisements that will promote the greater Forest Grove area also. We need, I'm sorry, I went past that. We need any high-res photographs that you've got that are tourism related. If you've got some fantastic shots that you're really proud of and you want to share, we want to share them, with people that are coming to visit our website and our social media channels. So I implore you, if you haven't been contacted already, I've started getting things from other places like Pacific University and others. They've been very helpful. We want to make sure that we can bring the best that Forest Grove has and showcase how incredible our place is. These branding guidelines are available, and we'll give you authorization to use it if you have the opportunity and you'd like to do that. We have it mounted on a Google Drive so that it's going to be permanently ensconced here in the city, and it's going to be available for those folks that do want to use it, and as long as they're following the guidelines. If you have any ideas, as I said, if you want to suggest some other things on how we might use this branding, we're wide open to getting your ideas of how it might be put out there to the community. The reason I'm here talking to you today is to let you know this is yours for the use of bringing more visitation to Forest Grove. Our mission is to try and encourage people to come and stay here overnight, ideally from 50 miles away or more, but anyone that's coming to stay, we want to encourage visitation that will come and bring them for 3 or 4 days, not just for a day trip. It doesn't mean we're going to ignore people who are coming here for a day trip, but it does mean that we want to show and focus on trying to encourage longer term stays so they can really do a deep dive into Forest Grove and all the different things that make us a beautiful place to visit and stay. So here again is my contact information. We are available, and I will be happy to talk to folks and be able to share with you. If you've got some ideas about how you'd like to use this or how you might be able to get access to the information, I'll be happy to share with anybody that's interested in using it. So feel free to contact me. That's it for my presentation in terms of what we've got here available. But I truly do think that it's a marvelous opportunity that we've got to be able to take advantage of. And I hope that you enjoyed what we've got here. It is, to me, an amazing asset, and we're really proud of it. So be happy to share any questions and answers. If we've got a couple minutes left, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I know that's a lot of stuff. Don't be shy.
All right. Well, thank you, Court. Oh, go ahead, Janine.
I was going to say that is a lot of info. That's a lot of hard work to brand. Hats off to you and your crew. That's an amazing amount of work, and it is probably going to push us in a positive direction overall. I think I'm overwhelmed, so I don't have a suggestion for you, but other than to say good job.
Well, thank you, and absorb it all, and feel free to get back to me anytime. Any of you who want time to think about it and kind of digest it, I'll be happy to share any of this stuff with you and be able to let you know how we might work together. Our job is to help you be more successful.
Thank you, Court. And I just have to echo Janine that that's a tremendous amount of thought and effort and intentional, work that has gone into that. So we appreciate that. And I'm sure it'll have a positive impact on our community and what we bring to Forest Grove as a destination.